Welcome to the Dan Gheesling Podcast. Consider this my audio journal of how I'm going about building a gaming brand while pulling back the curtain, hopefully entertaining and distracting you in the process in a family-friendly environment, meaning there's not going to be any swearing, so if you're listening to this with your kids in the car, you don't have to worry about it. In today's episode, we talk about hitting a milestone in Twitch subscribers, as well as how I internally processed a huge donation during a live stream. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dan Gheesling. Welcome to the 6th episode of the Dan Gheesling Podcast. Super excited to be here today. Hope you guys are dialed in. I hope you're fired up to be here. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy week schedule, evening, morning, afternoon, to dial in, put the earbuds in, sit back, crack a cold one, and listen to what's been going on in this past week. And it's been a big week. It's been a crazy week. There's been some ups. There's been some downs. There's been some things that have gone out of control, but I want to keep you guys posted. So we're going to jump into the old goal that was hit that is no longer a goal now that I've fully confused you. What do I mean by that? I mean that when we first started, my goal was to hit 1,000 subscribers on Twitch. 1,000 people that decided every month to back the channel in a subscription model. You guys know, if you've been listening to every podcast, that goal changed. We removed the monetary figure goal to just make the goal make each show one step better each time. However, I'm not, as much as I'm not into milestones, we hit 1,000 subscribers on the Twitch channel this past week, which to me is crazy because I immediately when that happened, you know, there's a moment of being overwhelmed, but at the same time, I thought way back into when I first started streaming and I had first gotten partnered, which was way back in 2012. And I think I always hovered between like 30 and 40 subscribers. And just to think from that moment to now, I'm not even sure that I would have believed you back then. But it's also kind of at a point where it's exciting, but now what, right? So we're continuing to move forward. I'm just thinking about ways to make the show better and continue to press on because that's the end goal, right? You know, I've talked about this a lot in I think it was 2 podcasts ago, and I don't want to rehash it too much, but just keep it moving, keep making the show better, and everything else will kind of fall in its own place. So I want to thank everyone. If you listen to this and you are a Twitch subscriber, it means a lot. But anyways, so to go from that to Tuesdays, you guys, a couple people got on me, which I truly appreciate in the Discord and the Twitch chat. But in the last podcast, I said I was going to install a program on my computer because Tuesday nights we do the Team Unity live stream. It's not my weekly show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's more of just it's a stream where I hang out and play games with friends, but often it goes wherever schedule. And I didn't install the program, but I was really fired up that people said it because to me it told me that people are listening to the podcast. And so that's a goal for this week. I really am going to install it this time. And I feel like we've kind of hit a groove. And it was funny because Melf, one of the members of Team Unity in the Discord on Tuesday before we went live, he's like, hey, we should have a hard stop at 11 p.m. Eastern. And I also knew Melf listened to the podcast. Shout out Melf if you're listening to this in Toronto. But that's cool, you know, and I think that it's going to make the Tuesday streams better by having a set endpoint. Now, whether or not I can abide to that, have the discipline to cut it off, I'm going to try again this week. So, but anyways, during last week's live stream, something happened that had never happened before. Talk about hitting milestones. In a matter of about 10 to 15 minutes in the middle of the live stream, 2 people had donated over $1,200 to the channel. And, you know, since I've been doing this, random donations will pop in, you know, from time to time. They may be $20 here, $50 there, which is amazing. And it's not anything I ever expect, or it's not even on my radar. And so when that happened on Tuesday, it was 2 $500 donations and some accoutrement of another individual that donated another $200, which to me is like crazy. And I talked to the guys after, and really just talking about the emotions involved in that, is that there's almost, for me, it was a level of not understanding, and I don't want to say being uncomfortable, but kind of. It was like, what did I really do to deserve that? And it's just kind of, I had to wrap my head around it, where it's just like, hey, someone's just giving you money. And that's not how I really operate. You know, I just am not used to that. You know, someone just doesn't give me money. I just find ways to work for it, and I enjoy the process of doing that. So it really made me take a step back and process that, because nothing like that's ever happened before, and I didn't anticipate on how that, would make me feel. And I say all this, and I hope it's not lost in translation, that I was extremely, like, over the top appreciative of it. It's just not something you ever expect. But I think I took a step back, and I guess the way I look at it is just another form of validation, or for whatever reason someone finds that much value in whatever that I'm producing, and I truly appreciate that. But that's one of the things. It's on my Twitch channel. It's underneath, but it's nothing I ever talk about or solicit, because it's just something that I don't know. Something I don't feel comfortable doing, right, or necessarily want to do or ever will do. I don't know. But when people do it, you want to give them their proper thanks, and so it just kind of made me in a state of confusion and not being able to anticipate how to react, right? And I talked about that before in the last week. It seemed like things are getting crazier and crazier, which is awesome. The show's growing, but I just, I guess because I go in with zero expectations, I don't know how to react to that. So I don't know. I'm really interested in I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, so I don't really know. I can only just go from my experiences. But when things like that happen, it's just a huge thank you. And then, I don't know, I feel like I kind of have to get over that, because I guess anytime the first time something like that happens, you're going to be taken back. And I'm not sure that ever will go away, that you're taken aback by that sort of, display of validation or acquiescence, whatever you want to say. But it's just something another thing that caught me off guard, but I'm very truly appreciative of all the support in the community, because when stuff like that happens, it just allows, it just moves the needle internally, as well as saying, hey, look, people are really appreciating this. Continue to spend more time on this and develop it. And I guess it just brings, not that I need more motivation, because that's not really it, but it's just like a quick tap on the back, but keep going, keep doing what you're doing, keep trying to make the show better. So if you're listening and you did that, I appreciate it. But I really wanted to talk about the emotions involved, because there was an element of not truly understanding it. So I'm not sure I'll ever understand it. But outside of that, one of the things I just decided to randomly drop on the YouTube channel, because you guys know I hired the editor. He's doing a great job. Really excited with. We're going to continue. And I feel like I've neglected YouTube. Even when I say that I've hired an editor, I just feel like I haven't done anything exclusively for that. And maybe over time it'll evolve away from that. So out of nowhere, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to drop a Let's Play series of Darkest Dungeon and see what happens. For two reasons. One, I almost feel like not but I want to do something for the people that are subscribed on YouTube. Like, a lot of it's filled with Twitch highlights. There is some exclusive Tarkov stuff, but if you don't like Tarkov and you don't want to see highlights of what happened during the live streams or the live show, there isn't much on YouTube for you. So because of that, I'm like, look, there's people there that want to watch something different, so I'm going to try this. And, I just did it on a whim. And I go back and forth in my head about creating stuff just for YouTube, because it's always the debate internally. Well, if you're making this for YouTube, why wouldn't you just live stream it? Which is a valid point. And considering how well streaming is going, I don't know. I just decided to do it, and it was fun, and I really enjoy the game. The numbers aren't exactly doing well, but I'm trying to debate in my head, does that matter? And when I say not doing well, I would say under 1,000 views, right? So if I do a YouTube exclusive series and it's hitting 1,000 views, I'm like, okay, that's about status quo. That's where it should be. But, anytime a number one episode hits, I think that's around, so the first episode as of today is around like 2,200 views. The second episode is like 1.5 thousand views, or, 1,500 views. But then I feel like it's any long-term series or any long-term Let's Play over time generally declines, with the exception of Dark Souls 2 has remained pretty steady. Dark Souls 1 remained pretty steady. So it's just, you go through this internal debate of whether or not that format still works on YouTube, or if the people that generally watch continuous gameplays all move to Twitch. If I had to make a gut call right now, I would say the majority of people that watch that sort of content have moved to Twitch. So that's where kind of double dipping makes the most amount of sense, which is why we've integrated in the show, where it's at the end of the show or the second half of the show, I play a long-term Let's Play that can then be ported to YouTube. So you get 2 for 1 on that. And so I don't know, I just go back and forth about not neglecting the YouTube audience that's there to watch that doesn't watch Twitch. So I don't know. I'm going to continue to the series, even though it's doing, I'd say, sub-average. But at the same time, I'm going to continue to keep a close eye on it and watch it. But it's just one of those things I decided to drop out of nowhere, or just to drop it on the channel and just see what happens. And I feel like over time, the more and more I'm able to do that, the more you figure out the right way to go. But the other thing in the back of my head is, in specific with Darkest Dungeon. If you don't know what Darkest Dungeon, it's a game that's been out for a while, so automatically you're going to get a little less juice on that. But it's a turn-based combat game, which is not typical of what people normally watch me do. But at the same time, I really enjoy it because there's a sense of loss and consequence. And even in the back of my head, I don't know what's going to happen with the series yet. I'm going to let it play out, but it's one of those games that I would love to bring to the live show. So it's kind of one of those things, well, let's see how the series goes, but, could Darkest Dungeon be easily the next game we play in the show after Dark Souls 2? 100%. And people on Twitch, when we played it, really enjoyed it too. So it's just a really precarious position in a good way in terms of deciding what to do. So dropped a new series on YouTube out of nowhere, just kind of on a whim. And of course, when you do that, there's a little more heat on the back end of production, of being production. I feel like that was part of the reason why I did it, because I wanted to push myself a little bit more and eat up some more time, but really try to find a way to make myself more efficient and say, hey, look, if there's supposed to be a Darkest Dungeon video going out every day, you got to find a way to be more efficient with your daily time. So I feel like that's part of the underlying factor of also why I did it. But anyways, the other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of what happened this past week was this last Friday was another one of those crazy shows where it just got out of hand. People, we started out playing Tarkov. There were a lot of people gifting a lot of subs. And it was also the same day that that I brought the haul of basketball cards. So I bought a bunch of sealed boxes of basketball cards, because one of the things over the past couple weeks I've integrated in the show is when someone gives a gift of 5 Twitch subscribers, we open a pack on the show. It's just like a little fun thing to do. And so it got a little out of hand. We ended up opening 2 boxes of NBA packs in the middle of the show, which out of context sounds completely crazy. It probably is, which was over 48 packs. It just got completely out of control on multiple levels. One of my biggest things I know I need to continue to get better at and work on is sticking to a schedule within the show. Not going live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm very dialed in on that, but more so the schedule of the show, right? So what's supposed to happen for the 3 hours of the show? And because, it takes a while to open 48 packs, it completely knocked off the back end of the show, which was supposed to be an hour and a half of Dark Souls 2. And while it was fun, it was zany, I think a lot of people enjoyed it. In the back of my head, I knew that I was disappointing people that had tuned into the show to see Dark Souls 2. So it's really presented, especially today when I came in the office to record the podcast. I hadn't been in the office since Friday. It was just a complete disaster. I posted a picture of it in the community Discord. There were packs everywhere. Everything was unorganized. I'm like, all right, let's take a step back and spend some time thinking about how we want to integrate opening NBA packs into the live show, or pack. When I say NBA packs, I'm talking trading card packs into the show, because I think a lot of people enjoy it, but it's got to be a couple of things that I've determined that have to happen. One, it has to be an additive to the show, not a subtractor, meaning if we open packs and say that it takes 10 minutes, that should not take out of the hour and a half gameplay on either side of the show. So that's one of the things I learned on Friday, because it completely derailed the rest of the show in a good way. And this is all good stuff to talk about. And the other thing is throughout the week, I'd sampled doing different things, like, spinning a wheel to how many packs we're open, rolling the dice. And so I'm just going to keep it very simple. I'm going to talk about it more on Monday, but essentially what I decided is a very just kind of simple way to do it. And I'm going to open packs in between games. So typically the way the show works is an hour and a half gameplay of Tarkov. We switch games to an hour and a half, more or less, of Dark Souls 2. So, and I don't want it to be more or less. That's what I want the show to be. But to do that, what I want to do is in between each games, that's when I'll open the pack so it doesn't immediately take away from gameplay. And then at the end of the second segment. So there's a way to integrate it, still keep it moving, and then also make sure that time is added on to the back end of the show so it's not taken away. So, for example, the show is supposed to go from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So this way, I think what I'm either going to do one of two things: start a little bit earlier to get things rolling, and then probably end a little bit later. So that's what the plan is going to be, and we'll see how it goes this week. But I think it's fun. I think I hit something, and it's something I think people enjoy watching, as long as it doesn't take away from the gameplay, because I genuinely get joy from it. I think we found a way to make it funny, fun, exciting, etc., etc. So I think it's just when stuff like that happens, when I guess you call it a bit, when a bit hits, I think the underlying thing I learned from this is just make sure it adds to the show and doesn't take away, especially because of how things have been going, if that makes sense. So that was a pretty crazy Friday, and not to mention, I had something to do at a certain time, and because you anytime I make decisions on the fly that extend the show in a crazy way, it's just like dominoes that fall. So I've really got to dial in on that, and I 100% expect to. Another thing that's been going on the past week, I've been starting to increase more of, is messing around more with Instagram videos. Meaning, I sat down with Zane, the editor, and said, hey, when you edit a Tarkov episode, or when you edit stream highlights, give me a 60-second clip that I can throw up on Instagram, because I just feel like that's something that I want to spend more time on doing. If you watch the show, you notice I've been promoting a lot more of people. There's a command in the chat, !IG. So if people type that in the chat, it leads them to my Instagram. It's just something I want to spend more time doing, because I feel like there's some white space there, meaning there's room to grow. Meaning that, Instagram, I post some stuff behind the scenes. Instagram stories are or videos or photos that evaporate after 24 hours. But the static post is what I'm spending a lot more time doing. So typically in my head, what I've decided I'm going to do, and what I've been doing, is that I say, if I'm going to post a photo on Instagram, it needs to be followed or preceded by a gaming video. So I'm going to continue to do that. And it's really amazing just to see the depth of reach and just different communities and things going on within Instagram based on hashtags. For example, when I look into Tarkov, there aren't a lot of people, and there's not a lot of videos on Tarkov, but the stuff that's on there is pretty good. So if you're really into Tarkov and you have an Instagram account, there's like a Tarkov memes. I don't know if it's a page or hashtag, but there's just a lot of content there that I want to add to. And also I look at it and get ideas from and just interact on there as well. So that's something I've been focusing on, and I think reasons for doing that, I think it helps to expand reach. I think it adds to, people looking for that sort of thing. And also it's another way for me internally, I would say the majority of the people that follow my Instagram account are from Big Brother. So it's another way to let people know that there's other things that I'm up to besides that. And in the hindsight, in the past, I haven't really posted anything about gaming on Instagram for whatever reason, but now I am. So that's something I'm really focusing on moving forward. Another interesting thing that happened this past week was during one of the live shows, there was a new feature, a new weapon released in Escape from Tarkov. And when something like that happens and there's hype around it, or people are getting excited about a new feature in a game, there's also going to be a lot of people looking for that. So this past week in Tarkov, they released a new weapon called the Mosin. It's a bolt-action sniper rifle. And our first show where we started using the Mosin, a lot of good things happened. We had some great moments with the Mosin. We had some unlikely kills that made for some good highlights. So I told Zane, the editor, I said, hey, let's put this video together, because I felt like it was going to be an important one in a very specific way. I didn't say in a very specific way. I said, hey, let's do this is the instructions I gave Zane. I said, hey, let's do a feature video on the Mosin for YouTube. And that was it. That was all the direction I gave him. And a video came back, and it had a lot of Mosin stuff in it, but there was a lot of non-Mosin stuff in there. There's like some scav gameplay, et cetera, et cetera. And it's the first time in the 30 days of working with Zane where I sent something back, and I said, hey, you know, and 100% it was my fault. I didn't give him enough direction to say, hey, look, I'm looking for a 12 to 15 minute video with only Mosin content, right? So I sent it back to him, and it was important for me, or for him to know, that the video was good. It made me be aware that I need to communicate a lot better to him exactly what needs to be done. Because if I were to grade Zane over the past month in terms of editing and his workflow and his quality of work, and has it been getting better, you know, I definitely give him an A- to A, just because there's always room for improvement, but he's done a really good job. And so I haven't told him this, but I don't know if he listens or not. I think he does. But, you know, we're going to go in October and continue another 30 days, because I just think he does really good work. And I think long term, I feel like each video we've put out and it's been edited, it's gotten better and better. But it was the first time that I sent one back to him. And the reason being is because I wanted I wanted it to be a little bit more pointed, because I felt like we might be able to catch a wave or get a little juice from that, because people were going to be looking for Mosin videos. And I'm looking at it now, 3 days ago, it hit 1,400 views, which typically for our Tarkov videos is right on point. So, you know, that's a situation in which I don't want to say it was wrong, but, you know, because you never know, but it wasn't what I thought, you know. And that's the thing with going into this with expectations. It's like, you know, I thought this Mosin video would have a little bit greater reach. Even for this video, which I haven't done yet in the past, is I've reached out to Escape from Tarkov on social media, and I said, hey, are there any type of videos you guys feel are missing in the community, or that you're looking to have done? Because I would try to create a video that they would think is missing, right? Because they see pretty much, I don't want to say all the Escape from Tarkov content, but, you know, they're dialed into that. And they responded back and said, oh, there's nothing really we're particularly looking for, but if you have a video that you feel, you know, is good. They didn't say this, but like, hey, we'd be happy to share any of your videos with that. So when I did this Mosin video, I reached out and said, hey, look, can you share this? I'd appreciate it. I didn't approach it that way. Well, let me actually read the exact DM that I sent them. Hold on, because I don't ever approach things that way. Here's what I said. I said, this is what I said. I said, hey guys, really proud of this video showcasing the Mosin with no scope. Hope you guys like it. And they said, yeah, good one. Smiley face. I said, do I share it to you or BetaEFT to share it on Twitter and Facebook? And they had already shared it. So I didn't see that they had shared it. But, you know, I didn't want to say, hey, like, can you share this? Even though there's nothing wrong with that. I guess in a way I did. I don't know. I'm running circles around it. But I felt like it was a good video. So I said, look, I don't ask them to share every video. This is the first video I've really, you know, asked them to share. And I figured it's kind of one of those things. It's, you know, if they liked it, they'd share it. And it did. But bottom line, you got to swing the bat, right? You know, they could say no, and it really wouldn't affected or not whether I continue to make Escape from Tarkov videos. It's just, if they say yes, it's a little added bonus. And you know, that's cool too, because it's the whole goal is to continue to grow and get better. And so that's another thing that I did with the Mosin video. Another thing that happened on the YouTube channel is some interesting feedback. I had Zane edit down our Team Unity stuff into highlights. And typically they're in full VOD format, because mostly when we do our Team Unity streams, there's a lot of banter and a lot of dialogue. Sometimes related to the game, a lot of times not related to the game. And so I had him edit it down into just the highlights. And it was an overwhelming response. I wouldn't say overwhelming response, but a lot of people said, hey, can you not highlight this anymore and just put the VOD up, because we don't get the full banter and conversation. And that's something, as someone who produces videos, that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of on YouTube. I thought people want to see, with the Team Unity stuff, want to see something a little more dialed, quicker, et cetera, et cetera. But this is one of the things where a general principle that I follow is I listen a lot. I ask and I listen a lot because I don't want to make stuff that people don't want to watch. I want to make stuff that people want to watch. And for Team Unity, if it's better to post a full unedited VOD, guess what I'm going to do? I'm not in the position to say what's better because I'm not the one watching it. So the people that give the feedback, I'm really appreciative of because what they say is then what I adjust and do. So if you were one of those people in the comments that said, hey, we want the full VOD, that's what you're going to get. So I truly appreciate that. It also makes me wonder, one of the things that led me to think about is I was looking at my YouTube channel again, as I often do. And one of the things, because we passed 1 year of doing the Dan Gheesling show on Twitch, I have the first 100 plus episodes in a playlist on YouTube. And then I stopped to chop it up and really go different ways. And I feel like from a view standpoint and from people having easy access to what they want to see on the show, I feel like it's better. But at the same time, there's a little bit of not nostalgia and not regret, but a little bit of like having them all, every episode, full VOD somewhere. I feel like there's some value to it because when I went to go back and watch episode 1, parts of it, of the Dan Gheesling show, just to see what's changed, it's available there. And that's one of the things that I go back and forth about doing. And maybe, because now I'm starting to post highlights from the show. We're posting the Dark Souls removed from the show. So I don't know if posting the full VOD is redundant and if people want to see that. But you know what I'm saying? There's only one way to find out. So I may start going back to posting the full VODs in addition to highlights, in addition to separated Dark Souls 2, and just see what happens. I think the only downfall for that, which I don't necessarily focus on anymore, is playing the YouTube algorithm game, right? So, and there's a lot of people that are super dialed in and are super smart about it. One person that comes to mind is Deadly Slob. I played Tarkov with him. His channel is super dialed. He's worked for YouTube networks in the past. He understands like the importance of not flooding your channel with videos. He understands the back end way more than I do. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if I should focus on that, but I'm not really focused on that. I think my mind shift has been over the past few months is just make it as easy as possible for people to view what they want to watch. And I think if I'm dialed into that, the answer would be to put the VOD up, regardless of if it's spam someone's subscription inbox on YouTube. I don't think that matters so much. I'm sure it matters for discovery and people wanting to and finding new people. But for the people that are subscribed to the channel for the content they want to see, I don't know. And as someone who watches some YouTube, if someone that I like is releasing a bunch of videos, that doesn't dissuade me from I may not watch all of them, but it doesn't dissuade me from wanting to be subscribed to the channel. So I think that's something I'm debating doing, and I'll probably also sample with that this week and see how it goes. And then the last thing that happened this week, one of the things that I've been definitely doing more of, and I haven't talked a ton about, and it's funny because when I talk about, the personal or behind the scenes stuff, I get a lot of feedback on that. And in particular, I remember a message I got, it might have been last week, the week before, saying, hey, Dan, would you ever consider going to a trading card show and filming it? And that's something, because I talked about on a previous podcast that I enjoyed. I enjoyed basketball cards, which led to the whole pack opening on streaming, et cetera, et cetera. Well, one of the things I've been doing that I just truly get joy out of, and I think for multiple reasons, but it's like modern day treasure hunting. And I've always done it, and I haven't done it as much in the past, but I'm starting to do it more, but it's going to garage sales. And if you don't, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, I may have, but essentially you just never know what you're going to find. And I love the process of negotiating. I love the process of seeing things of value and people being happy to sell them and get rid of them, and then you can flip it and make some money on the back end. But anyways, this past Saturday I went out for maybe 2 hours, and I went to 4 garage sales, and I was like 0 for 4, nothing. One sale had these 2 cameras that was a deal, but the person wasn't there to sell them, so I'm like, man, I completely whiffed. And I'm like, let me pull over to one more sale. And wouldn't you know, I pull up to the sale, and it's one of these, it's an individual that had a bunch of action figures out. And it's, stuff new in box. He had some Star Wars stuff new in box from like back in the day. And you could tell he was a collector, but he was more into Star Wars and wrestling and things like that. And on the same table, kind of mixed in, I saw a Game Boy Advance, a Game Boy SP, a Pokemon Game Boy game. And so I bought those. And we talked about, I'm like, hey, do you have anything else? Do you have any Nintendo stuff, Super Nintendo? He's like, I have an NES and an SNES, but it's in storage. So I gave him my number, and he's like, I'll text you when I pull it out and sell it. And then as I'm walking out, I look behind, and it was completely next to like some random art stuff. It was a top loader NES. And so, I got a great deal on everything. He was happy to sell it. I was happy to buy it. But it's just another one of those random hauls. And I remember driving away from the sale, and I just had so much joy. Joy because I enjoyed the process of finding it, making the deal, and knowing, look, I bought all this stuff for $10, and it's a little bit more work than I'd promised or that I'd thought in terms of just taking photos of it and putting it on eBay, because I then learned that Pokemon Game Boy games have a battery in them, and more likely than not, the battery is going to be dead. If you replace a battery, it sells for more on eBay, so of course I'm going to do that. And then the other thing is, the Game Boy Advance didn't turn on, so I started looking as to why it is. It's a simple fix, but you got to get the tools. So I bought the special screwdriver to do it. So basically, I made a lot more work for myself, but I'm still enjoying the process because I'm learning more about it. And you flip it, make some money, and I'll probably end up buying some more NBA cards with it. But it was just fun, and I couldn't tell you the last time I saw NES top loader, and then you start to debate in your head: do I want to keep the top loader? Because at some point, when my sons are ready, one of my goals, and I shouldn't say my goals, it's something I want to do, and if they're drawn to it, I'm going to do it. But I want to give my oldest son, Desmond, when he's old enough for when we think it's right, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but I want to give him my original Nintendo, and which I have to repair, and 10 Nintendo games that I feel are kind of like, hey, this is a great introduction to him. And if he likes that, then somewhere down the road, I'll do it for Super Nintendo, maybe for N64. I don't know. But if he's into it, if he's not into it, then I won't do it. But that's kind of in the back of my head. I'm slowly putting that together. I don't know what 10 games I'm going to do. I'm sure I want to do like 5 single player games and 5 multiplayer games or co-op games. But so I think that's part of the process too. But anyways, I started to think, well, should I just keep the top loader and give it to Desmond? I'm like, and look, you're doing it to flip, so flip it and then keep it moving. Because that's the thing. One of the things is that, and I don't want to get too far off the beaten track here, is that now that I'm a little bit more into collecting NBA cards, I don't want to say stuff's starting to stack up, but I'm a very, very simple, I don't want to say minimalist, like you walk into a room and it's like stark white, but I don't like a lot of stuff. And so I just have to be careful. I don't want a lot of stuff piling up, and that's what I had to remind myself. It's like, hey, clean up the top loader, put it on eBay, sell it. Clean up the Game Boys, which I didn't want to keep anyways, just bought them to flip, sell them. And so just want to keep it moving. Same thing with these NBA cards. I'm going to move out, keep the ones I want, keep the Oladipo cards, and move everything else out. Just because I just don't like stuff. It's how I'm wired. I don't like stuff. I'm very simple. And but there was that. I say that because there was that flash of, if you do go garage selling or if you find video game stuff that you want, only for me, it's like I should remind myself, only keep the stuff that you really want and just sell everything else, because that's why you're doing it in the first place. But it's also just, the treasure hunting aspect of it. So that's kind of what's happened in the past week in terms of what's been going on the channel and a little bit behind the scenes of what I've been doing. And it's relatable because I'll post stuff in the community Discord about what's going on. And it's funny because, I don't say it's funny, but it's something that I enjoy doing. But the reason I bring it up too is that, you could, depending on how dialed you are, it's a simple way to make a couple $100 more a month. And if I can do it, trust me, anyone can do it. And it's just fun. So if someone's listening to this and be like, hey, I could use a couple extra bucks every month, I'm like, that's kind of why I brought it up. You just never know sometimes people don't know that opportunity is out there. Go to garage sale, bring your phone, look what it's sold for on eBay. If you get a good deal on it, buy it, sell it. It's just keep it moving. Anyways, so that's the end portion of the show. I do want to get into a very interesting question that I got sent to me. It was actually through a DM in Discord. And so I wanted to answer this question in depth because I felt it was pretty dialed in, and I wanted to provide as much help and value to this person as possible. So I got this message in Discord. It says, "Hey Dan, I apologize for the lengthy message in advance. I recently watched episodes 3 to 5 of the podcast. Thank you. As a game developer with our first game nearing release, I have to say I can relate to your point about sending out emails, although I'm on the other side of the coin." So this is coming from someone who is about to release a game. "I won't be mentioning our game because it's more of a personal curiosity rather than a marketing move, and I feel scummy to name it," which I appreciate because this is one of those rare situations. It's someone in the community that's been around for a while, and to just think that statement right there makes me think that this person is genuinely interested in the answer to the question as opposed to getting promotion for their game, which I appreciate. So with the game nearing its release, we're preparing keys to send out to content creators, and I'm pretty sure we'll be taking a big slice of humble pie once we get to see which ones end up making videos for the game, if they actually do. This brings me to episode 5, where you said it only takes one video. And we've certainly experienced that because a single highlight from a very popular YouTuber got us greenlit and interest from a publisher afterwards, which is amazing. So one person picked up or covered their game, and because of that, they got picked up by a publisher, which is amazing. So the question is, as a content creator, aside from liking the game itself, what things would help us not only in getting you to open the email, but also reading it to see if the game is worth a try? I know Northern Light had covered this, but I'd appreciate it very much if you gave your views on this. Thank you in advance for reading this. Also, there's no problem if you're uncomfortable with answering the question. The podcasts are great, by the way. Behind the curtain stuff's really interesting. So I have no problem answering this question. So something like this had just happened to me because one of the things that I want you guys to understand, or that I'm trying to convey, is that as someone that makes videos on the internet and streams games on Twitch, I don't know, I couldn't tell you how many keys or video game pitches I get daily. You know, it could be a couple, but at the end of the month, it's probably 100 plus keys, 100 plus emails of people just spamming you trying to cover their game. And when I say spam, you'll get emails that say, "Dear parentheses, insert content creator's name here." So just a lot of stuff that makes you not want to play the game off the bat. So let me answer this in 2 parts. So the first question is, what things would help us in getting you to open the email? So first thing to do to open the email is don't blanket email everyone. It's going to be a lot of work, but you want to, anything you can do to personalize this email, the better. For example, this is what I would do. And if you got a copy pasta some of the email, that's fine. But here's what you need to have. This is just speaking from what I would want in it. Number one, you have to I would include a picture of what the gameplay looks like, a link to the gameplay trailer. I don't want to see a trailer about the back lore and story and concept art, because you got to remember we get so many of these emails that most of the time, you know, I just want to see what the game looks like. I want to see what the gameplay looks like, and literally I'll make a half-second decision on the gameplay. And I know just because you get so many, and I'm actively looking too. I don't automatically dismiss them, but if there's no picture of the gameplay itself in the photo and not a link to a YouTube video of gameplay, most of the time it goes right in the chunker, right in the trash can. Another thing that was super helpful in someone kind of getting their game played by me, and I'm not saying this in a self-aggrandizing way, but the title of the email was our game, or the game blank plus Dark Souls is our game. So just by looking at the subject line, it's not like, Lords of Obsidian RPG. It's just like, here's what the game is, here's what it's like. If you're interested, click in it. So I think being as descriptive on the gameplay and simply in the subject line is helpful, because you're going to catch someone that way. Most of the time, 99% of the keys that I get, I've never heard of the game before. So the title, it doesn't really do anything for me in terms of discovery. So make the subject line about the gameplay, what it is, really quickly. If you can personalize the email, say, "Hey Dan, I was watching your videos on Cuphead and I thought you may like this game." Because that tells me you actually think that I may like your game and that you took the time to watch the channel. as opposed to like a blanket spam email. So that's what I would do on the email side. What I would do on the flip side is always put yourself in the position of the content creator who's getting spammed by a lot of companies to play their game. So what can you do to separate yourself from the pack? If you have like a dream list of your top 5 people that you love to see play the game, no matter what size or anything like that, I would find a way to integrate them into the game, whether a simple way, whether you make an item and you name it after them or something about their community. If you do things like that, let's just be honest, whether people admit it or not, streamers or people that make videos on YouTube, they all have an ego, right? There's an element of having an ego. So if you were to put, for example, in an RPG and it's called, the Staff of Egg or the Staff of Northern Lion, I guarantee he's going to be a little bit more likely to check it out. And you put a screenshot of that in the email you send him. Doing something like that is going to help. Even if someone may not be interested in the game, if I got an email and said, hey, Dan, we made you as a character in this game, you think I'm not going to take a look at it for 5 minutes and there's a small chance I may make a funny video about it, even if I don't like the game? Probably. I'm just being honest, but that's a lot of work. But at the same time, if you're looking to get coverage, that's one thing I would 100% do. The other thing I would do is I wouldn't spam people. I would reach out to some people that you would like to cover the game, and I would say, hey, what is something you look for in a new game you've never heard of that you play before? I wouldn't mention your game. I would just start talking to people on Twitter that you think may be a good fit and find out what kind of games they like or what they would be looking for in a new game. And if you can take that feedback and somehow integrate it in the game, and look, I don't know, but I can imagine game development takes a long time. To integrate new stuff is tough, but that's what I would do because no one really does it. And because no one does it, I think it will work. If I were making a game 100%, that's what I would do. But I would find a way to make it authentic to the game, right? Like I wouldn't spam and put like, I don't know who's the biggest YouTuber, PewDiePie or Ninja into a game. I would be realistic and instead of targeting the people that have 100 million subscribers, why don't you hit the people between like 50 and 250,000 subscribers on YouTube? And it's just a numbers game and just continuing to work hard and find unique ways. But I guarantee that's what I would do. On the email, I think that should be a lot of help if you can do that, because just out of 100 emails with keys I get, I'd say maybe 10 have an actual gameplay video in them. Because you just got to think, the easier you can make it for a complete stranger who knows nothing about you and your game to access the game and see if they're going to like it as fast as possible, the better chance you're going to have for them to make a decision that they want to give it a shot. So that's what I would do on the email side. On the other side, I would try to integrate people into the game, even in small ways. Maybe they're an NPC. Maybe it's a meaningless item in the game, but you find a way to attach some lore to it to acknowledge a streamer or a YouTuber that may like it. That's what I would do. It's a lot of work, but I think that stuff works, and as long as it's in a genuine way and you find a way to make it work for the game itself. That's what I would do. So I hope that's helpful. Because you're a part of the community, I would love for you to at least tell me the title of your game, which I respect why you didn't. This was a great way to approach it. And, I'd love to check it out, and we'll take it from there. So thank you so much for submitting the question. There's been a couple people that have submitted voicemail questions by going to dangheesling.tv/ask. I'm going to bring on some voicemail questions. It's just a matter of some little extra editing, so I'm kind of going to wait and do a couple on one show. But I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoy the show. I'd like to thank everyone that's left a review on iTunes. We're up to 43 5-star reviews. I'm going to ask for the first time, if you listen on iTunes and you've been enjoying the show, please leave a review. Don't feel pressure to leave a 5-star, but I would acquiesce if you guys could leave some feedback or what you like about the show in the actual review. It helps me out tremendously. And as always, if you want to check out the live show, we go live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Twitch.tv/DanGheesling, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Thank you for carrying me along, whether in your car, your commute, your walk, whatever you're doing right now. I appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys next Monday. Later.